Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt like you were actually leading, rather than constantly keeping your head above water? Because here's what I've noticed, and I'm guessing you felt this too. There's this moment when you realise you've become the chief fire extinguisher, not the leader you set out to be, not the person building something that runs without you. Exhausted, carrying everything, wondering why your team doesn't seem to step up the way you need them to. And the advice you usually get? You need to delegate more. You have to let go. Trust your team. And listen, it's not bad advice, but it's incomplete. Because here's what nobody tells you. Delegation without system design is dumping tasks on people and hoping for the best. And that's not accountability. That's distribution of workload. And if you're still carrying the weight of every decision, every problem, every what if, this episode's for you. Today, we're talking about why your leadership burnout isn't a personal failure. It's not about working harder or having more stamina. It's a design problem. And once you see it that way, everything changes. Welcome to the High Impact Leader Podcast, a leadership podcast for business owners and leaders who want self-managing teams, stronger accountability, and scalable performance without carrying everything themselves. If you're ready to focus on leadership design, not just effort, you're in the right place. G'day, I'm Brendan Rogers. Let's talk about why your leadership burnout isn't about working harder. It's about designing systems that work. Let's dig in. There's a lie at the heart of modern leadership, and it's this. If you're struggling, you're not working hard enough. You know the feeling, the to-do list that never ends, the inbox that refills the moment you empty it, the team member who needs clarification for the third time this week, and you think, I need to push through, I need to be more organised, or I need to be more on top of things. But here's the truth no one wants you to hear. You're not burned out because you're lazy or incapable. You're burned out because your leadership system is broken. Think about it this way. If you designed a machine that required you to manually push a button every 60 seconds to keep it running, you'd call that a poorly designed machine and you'd fix it. You'd automate it. But when it comes to your team, your role, your leadership, somehow we think the answer is to push the button faster, work more hours, be more available, answer more messages. And I'm here to tell you, that's not sustainable and it's not your fault. When you carry all these decisions, you block your team's growth. You create a bottleneck. And here's the part that hurts. You're actually doing them a disservice. You're preventing them from learning, from stepping up, from becoming the leaders they could be. Because here's the real cost of your overload. You're exhausted. You're preventing accountability from ever forming. And that's the thing we need to talk about. Because most leaders think they've delegated when they've assigned, and those are not the same thing. Let me paint a picture. You hand off a project to Sarah. You explain what needs to happen. You tell her the deadline. You feel good? You've delegated. A week later, you ask how it's going. She says, "Oh, I was waiting for input from Mike." Another week passes. You ask again. "Well, I didn't want to make that decision without checking with you first." Does any of that sound familiar? Well, this is what I call the accountability gap, the space between task assignment and genuine ownership. Most leaders equate delegation with accountability. They think, I gave them the task, so now they're accountable. But accountability doesn't work that way. Accountability is a system, not a statement. So here's the difference. Task delegation is, here's what I need you to do. Let me know if you have any questions. System design is, here's what success looks like. Here's the authority you have. Here's what happens when things go off track. And here's how we course correct together. See the difference? Task delegation puts the burden on the person doing the task to figure out the rest. System design creates an environment where ownership is almost automatic, where the structure itself pulls accountability out of people. And I know what you're thinking. That sounds great, but I don't have time to design systems. I'm already stretched thin. Now I get it. I've been there. But here's the reframe that changed everything for me. You're not too busy to design systems. You're too busy because you haven't designed systems. Every hour you spend putting out fires, answering questions, making decisions that your team could make, that's time you're spending because the system isn't there to handle it. Designing the system feels like extra work, but it's the opposite. It's the way out. So now let's talk about how to do that. 3 specific techniques to shift from doing to designing. Technique 1, define the decision boundary. One of the simplest shifts you can make is this. Tell people what decisions they're allowed to make without checking with you. Now I know this sounds simple, but it's transformative. Most team members don't take ownership, not because they don't want to. They don't take ownership because they don't know where the line is. They're afraid of making the wrong call. So draw the line. For Sarah in marketing, maybe the boundary is you can approve any campaign spend up to $500 without checking with me. Anything above that, bring it to me. For your operations lead, you can make vendor decisions under $2,000. Anything major, we discuss. This isn't about control, it's about clarity. When people know where the boundary is, they stop asking and they start deciding. That's the first building block of accountability. Technique 2, create the default path. This one's about designing what happens when you're not there or when you can't be there. Here's a question. If you got hit by a bus tomorrow, would your team know what to do? Would they be stranded, waiting for instructions? Or would the business keep moving? It's morbid, I know, but it's useful. The default path is what happens when something goes wrong and you're not available? Who do they ask? What's the protocol? I worked with a leader who implemented what he called the 24-hour rule. If a team member has a problem and can't reach him within 24 hours, they're empowered to make the decision themselves and report back later. Not ask for permission, decide and inform. It sounds scary, but here's what happened. His team started making better decisions. They started thinking for themselves, and he got his time back. That's system design. Technique 3, build the feedback loop. Accountability without feedback is hope. If you delegate something and never check in, you're hoping it gets done. If you delegate and provide structured feedback, regular, consistent, helpful feedback, you're creating a system. The key here is regular, not micromanaging, not hovering, but having a rhythm, a weekly touch point, a quick review, something that says, this matters and I'm paying attention. But here's the twist. Make the feedback two-way. Ask your team what's working, what's not, what would help them own this more. When people feel heard, they lean in. When they feel like it's do what I say, they check out. The best leadership systems I've seen create feedback loops that make everyone better, and that's the leader included. Here's what I see when I work with high-impact leaders. The ones who have built teams that run without them, who scale without burning out, who lead with clarity instead of chaos. They don't push harder. They design smarter. High-impact leaders don't try to do everything themselves. They design systems that make doing the right thing easy for their team and for the business. They shift from fixing to designing, from reacting to what's coming at them to creating the conditions where the right outcomes are almost inevitable. That means clarity, clear decision rights, clear ownership, clear expectations. That means ownership, not just assigning tasks, but creating environments where people naturally step into accountability. That means rhythm, consistent touch points, structured feedback, a cadence of leadership that keeps things moving without the leader having to be in the middle of everything. High-impact leaders know this. You can't will your way out of a broken system. You have to redesign it. So here's what I want you to sit with. What's one system in your business that's creating the exact opposite of what you want? And what would it look like to redesign it? Not fix it, but redesign it. So let's bring this home. Leadership burnout is real. The weight you feel is real. But it's not a personal failing. It's not about needing more willpower or better time management. It's a design problem. Your team isn't stepping up, not because they can't, but because the system isn't set up for them to step up. And you can't will your way out of a broken system. You have to redesign it. Start small. Pick one of these techniques. Maybe it's drawing a decision boundary for one person this week. Maybe it's creating a default path for one process. Maybe it's setting up a simple feedback rhythm. But here's what I want you to remember. The goal isn't to do less. The goal is to design for accountability so that the people around you naturally step into ownership. That's how you build self-managing teams. That's how you scale without burning out. And that's how you go from fire extinguisher back to leader. Because higher back leaders aren't the ones doing the most. They're the ones designing the best systems. And the high impact leader is where we go deeper. It's the place for leaders who want to design their leadership intentionally, instead of reacting to what's coming at them. Inside the High Impact Leader Club, I work with business owners and leaders to redesign their leadership approach so they can reduce leadership load, improve decision making, and build self-managing teams with real accountability. To learn more, go to leaderbydesign.au/club. If this podcast is helping you, I'd love it if you could hit the follow button. It helps more leaders find us. And that's it for today. Thanks for listening to the High Impact Leader podcast. I'm Brendan Rogers, and until next time, design your leadership, build your team, lead with impact.